is that expensive if you're miserable? Like, I've got a buddy who hated his wife so much, he would daydream about her plane crashing when she would like come back into town. Jordan Peterson says that
if you have kids and you try to get divorced, the probability that that's going to demolish your life is very, very high.
But I say it's a forge. When you take the right approach, it can lead to the best years of your life.
First of all, it's incredibly expensive. So one or both of you is going to come out of that poor. And your market value has declined. Let's say you're the woman who takes the kids. Your market value has declined radically. You're going to be poorer.
Okay, so a few things there. One, it doesn't have to destroy the kids. Two, if you're in a situation where you're truly unhappy, then your kids have to see that every day. And if you make yourself happier, if you don't get divorced and wallow for too long, you actually redefine yourself into a better example, that is going to be better for your kids than remaining in a relationship where someone is potentially making you lesser, where your self-esteem is suffering, where, you know, potentially you're not loved, especially if there's like disdain or disrespect and your kids are watching you be disrespected by your spouse. It's unacceptable. That is the starting point. Being treated with dignity and respect is where life starts. You get that first before you think about anything else, because you have to set the same example for your kids that they must never accept a lack of dignity or disrespect in their life, right? So, and then this thing that you're going to be poorer. Sure, divorce is expensive, but what would you pay to get out of misery or to have a chance at the life that you always dreamed of? And then he goes on to talk about how your market value goes down, but I guess he does mention the woman. That's true of the woman. Oftentimes for men, you're making more money. Women find you more attractive when you're older, have a little bit of gray hair and wisdom. It's not the same. And it certainly wasn't in my experience. You know, I ended up dating someone who's 10 years younger than me, and it works out because she's got lots of energy and I'm very active. So, and, you know, she's into the gym and things that, you know, my ex didn't really want to do. And like, you know, we play ping pong and we go on walks in the evening and we'll take the kids, and we found a way to mesh this thing together so that the kids are involved. They see me happier. They see what a good relationship looks like. They're loved by their mother still. They're loved by me still. And now on top of it, there's just these additional positive people in their lives. And it can be that way. It's not going to happen by accident. And that's why I talk about the forge. Just treat it like a forge. And you're like this weapon that has become dulled from use, and so you're being reforged into this sharper, better version than it ever was before, and use the pain to drive that, and you can end up in this situation. I'm living it. It's I'm happy with my decision to divorce.
The man, he's just as screwed because he is now an indentured servant and there's no escape from it. So it's not so bad if you can negotiate a peaceful separation, and some people can, but lots of times if you have a terrible relationship, it's not like negotiating a peaceful separation is all that easy. But if you're at each other's throats, good luck to you. I think it's roughly equivalent to having non-fatal cancer. It is not pleasant. It's a 10-year process, 15-year process. It'll cost you $250,000.
Okay, so you're an indentured servant. You'd only have to pay child support. But that's something, you know, for a lot of men, you might end up paying less, you know, or at least roughly equivalent in terms of that. I guess I had a good divorce, if you can say that about a divorce, in terms of us negotiating things out. You know, we might have butted heads. You know, we were both attorneys at one point, but we decided not to bring attorneys in and make it just more expensive. And we were able to resolve things between one another. We still have a certain respect for one another. And so maybe he's talking about these situations where it's really contentious and you're X is going after you in full force. But he quotes $250,000. And again, like over 10 or 15 years, he says, is that expensive if you're miserable? Like, I've got a buddy who hated his wife so much that he would tell me he would daydream about her plane crashing when she would like come back into town. And if you're that sad, he kept saying, well, if we get divorced with the number of kids and things that we have, and her not having a job, she's going to get alimony and she's going to get all this child support, and I'm not going to have anything. I'm like, I almost said his name. I was like, if you were in a studio apartment and you didn't have that stress hanging over you, and you were paying attention to your health and pursuing things that you loved and getting yourself in the proper mindset, you would be happier living in that small place than being in that house under the weight of this person that you despise. So I think for a lot of people, $250,000 over a decade plus is a bargain, especially if you do it the way I'm telling you. If you refocus yourself and the extra time that you now have on your hand and take advantage of the extra wisdom that you have, reforge yourself and refocus yourself into making more money as one of your things. You can make so much more money over 10 years than what you're going to be paying in terms of the cost of that divorce. And ultimately, it's just, you have to decide if something's unacceptable, that means it's unacceptable. It's not unacceptable unless it costs money.